In yesterday's video, we were looking at a likely pullback from this rally, as this rally is not so convincing just yet. We were looking at some hidden bearish divergence on the lower timeframes that has now played out. And the question is, what is next? And just to give you the very, very short answer, because I know that a lot of people like the short answer at the beginning, we'll just front load the content value. Short term, Bitcoin still bearish, still most likely to go to the downside. But I'm still looking at this as an overall range play. Now that Bitcoin has rejected from yesterday's high, we could actually move down the pivot for calling this a potential reversal from priorly at 92,800. Now we can move it down all the way to yesterday's high, essentially. Anyways, before we get to the actual content of this video, I do want to let you know that we still have our sale and free trial period going on. You can get 20% off of any one of the programs or services here on the Teachable School, which you can find a link to in the description below with the code YEAR7, year in all capitals, and then just the number 7. And then also, if you want to try out any one of these indicator services here, these monthly subscriptions, you can actually try them out for free. It's completely risk-free. Like, there's literally no fucking hidden agenda with it. It's purely to give you the opportunity to try them out and see if it's relevant for you or not. And if you like them, you can obviously buy them, even with the discount as well. Or you don't. You don't have to pay a fucking cent if you don't want to. But that'll apply for the Quant Prime, which allows you to automate your trades. That applies for Caretaker's full indicator bundle, the quantum wave bands, and of course the VMP indicator as well. Anyways, we'll get into the actual analysis now, and let me just reorganize my notes over here. Okay, beautiful. So yeah, from yesterday's video, we are looking at hidden bearish divergence all the way up to about a 4-hour/6-hour time frame. 6-hour time frame did have a higher RSI reading here compared to the highs that we saw from the 6th of May. This is also consistent on the 4-hour time frame as well. And well, there is your hidden bearish divergence. Now, the Caretaker's RSI is not picking it up here because my look back is shorter than these two peaks. But in this case, I kind of superseded what I was looking at here, and looked at this and it's like, all right, that's clearly another lower high. Bitcoin got rejected right below that 200 simple, which has been arresting all of these rallies since beginning of February. And on top of that, something that I made a Twitter post on yesterday, which I did not speak about in yesterday's video, but we can cover very quickly here. The daily RSI has been getting rejected around the 50 read ever since that same time. Early February. Anytime that we've seen a spike up, like we see, let me actually mark these off so you can see as well. Like we see right here, like we see right here, like we see right here, and most recently, yesterday as well. These have all been rejections correlating with these lower highs within this overall downtrend. So as long as Bitcoin is following the lower highs, the trending lower highs here, I do look at it as bearish, do look at it as more likely to come to the downside. I don't think that we're done just yet to the downside. I'm not necessarily calling for Bitcoin to make new lows, however, than the March lows. I do think it's actually very possible that Bitcoin might reaccumulate between these two major moving averages, that white 200 simple and that blue 377 exponential. Again, that is where we have found a lot of the major lows for even this cycle, going back to last year in these massive fucking accumulation phase right here. It did take a long time to play out though, do be aware, like it was multiple months for that to really play out, but long-term, in hindsight, buys in between that region were long-term good dues. Same thing over here from the summer of 2023. And of course, we can go to past cycles before this as well. I've probably already beaten this horse to death in prior videos. But here's the thing. In the short term, as long as Bitcoin is below the daily 200 simple moving average, which is that white moving average here that I'm currently pointing my cursor towards, which is at 84,645, downside is a more likely thing. And it's hard to be even short-term bullish, as long as you're below there. Bitcoin is quite literally more likely to come to the downside. Like I said, doesn't imply that it's going to literally make new lows from here. But, if it came back down to $80,000, that wouldn't be super surprising. Of course, if Bitcoin starts to actually, really come below that 377 at 75 or 76,000 bucks, it is rising after all. That's at the point where I'd say, hey, you're probably looking at upper 60s / very low 70s, like 70 to 71, or it would be a range like 68 to 71, let's say. But for right now, I still can kind of see the bull hopium over the more medium / long term, where perhaps Bitcoin, let me actually just draw this one out, comes down here, sets another low, hopefully a slightly higher low. reverses and then takes out this high. If we saw something like that, okay, there's going to be some hopium, should be a decent rally, and probably see another move, into the at least mid 90s, probably even deep 90s if that were to happen. But one thing before the next, and again, bearish as long as below these levels. And of course, we do have major closures coming in later tonight that we're going to see the closure for the daily. Obviously, we're going to see CME's weekly closure. We're going to see the 5-day closure and the 10-day closure. So I want to see where all these momentum pivots are at as of current. And we can see that, let's actually go to CME for this one. We can see that CME daily stochastic oscillator will turn down if Bitcoin closes today below 82,200 or so. So right now, trading almost $2,000 above that pivot. On top of that, if we go over to let me go to the 2-day time frame. 2-day time frame will also turn down below 81,130. So, it does have a bit of a buffer here, and this actually does look like it wants to try a short-term, at least a short-term move there. 3-day time frame will turn down freshly below 83,700. This one not closing tonight, by the way. That's going to be tomorrow. And then we got the big ones. The 5-day. 5-day is going to continue down if Bitcoin fails today below 83,350. So that would be the next sort of short-term momentum pivot that I'd be aware of for tonight's closure, because if Bitcoin is below 83,350, again, more than likely we're going to see at least another try below $80,000. And of course, we can then extrapolate that onto the 10-day time frame. This one's probably not going to be flipping around anytime soon. The current pivot is basically $106,000. I'm curious to see where the next pivot comes in for tomorrow. Hopefully that gets massively reduced if Boolaws are going to have a chance in hell here. But we should also be looking at the weekly for CME, because that one is closing today, and that one is going to have downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 96,700. So we kind of see a bifurcation between what I refer to as like the lower end of the higher term timeframes, that being like the daily, 2-day, 3-day, versus the upper end of the higher term timeframes, like the 5-day, 10-day, weekly, monthly, these sort of things. All of the higher end of those are still pretty aggressively pointed to the downside. However, with the lower end of that spectrum, pointed up right now, it does make me think that Bitcoin's probably not going to break down here, at least not from this current positioning. Without another bounce attempt. So I could easily see Bitcoin, like I said, following something similar to this LARP line right here, and then trying an actual rally, probably above $90,000. But first things first, let's see the response after Bitcoin most likely comes to the downside here. Anyways, I will end on one last thing. Actually, where is it? Yes. Okay. One last thing on the hopium side. We spoke about this yesterday briefly as well, but the 5-day HPDRO, the directional volatility oscillator, is still pointed up right here. It is technically not above the moving average as of right now, but if we do see it close something like this by the end of today, and that confirms, that would be more on the hopium side as well, because we have seen all these moves down to that similar region as major lows within this current bull market. So, that's, I guess, a little bit more comforting. Again, not the best timer of lows, although it has timed the lows extremely well on just 2 of these times, but definitely in terms of price, it has been extremely close to the low, if not the low. So I do look at this as rather relevant. And then of course we should go check out the quantum wave bands. Of course, the quantum wave bands are on trial as well for the. Did I give out the code? It's trial in all capitals. Holy shit, I probably didn't do that. It's trial in all capitals. There you go. Anyways, this one has not had a new trade since we last spoke yesterday. You can see that it has been doing consistent small scalps throughout this whole move, really, to the downside. So I do like that. Anyways, you can look at the quantum wave bands similar to the meta signals in that it gives you probabilistic setups, tells you where it would want to enter and where it would want to exit, and of course, it gives you essentially training wheels onto what sort of direction you should be kind of angling your trades. Not that it's going to be perfect, but over the long period of time, it's stood up to the test of time at this point. At least in my opinion, all strategies will have a short shelf life over a long enough period of time. But for now, still doing it well. And yeah, that's where we'll end things for today. We'll continue on with the live stream now too. So if you are watching this at a later time or a later date, you can join in on the live streams as well. All you need to do is just, subscribe to this channel and pay attention for Tuesday and Fridays, because that has been our live stream schedule times. All right, there we go. See you in the next one.